Hello, friends. Welcome to a very special class we're super excited about. This is all about the humble and yet powerful positional isometric. You know these most as pails and rails, but we're going to work with many different applications of this kind of isometric idea. And this is a super juicy way in for folks who feel, who consider themselves hypermobile, or if you feel like you just have a hard time feeling the contractions that we're asking for when we're all the way at end range. Sample some of this juiciness and see how it goes for you. For today's class, we are gonna need some props. You're gonna want a strap or a belt, or in a pinch, a bath towel or even a hand towel could totally work. Just something that you can use to extend an arm. And then you'll want either a pillow or a block, something to potentially prop your knee up with. You might not need this at all, but it's good to have things that can bring the floor to you handy. We're going to start with some, what I like to call mini planks. We'll call them short planks from the forearms and the knees. So think like quadruped, then you're gonna bring it down to the forearms. Then we wanna get a little brace through the midsection already, and then you're gonna start to walk your knees back while also kind of tucking your tail under so that you really feel the front side of your torso engage, yeah? And it should feel like, oh, I can feel some muscles happening there. We're gonna ramp from here. So I'm gonna give you a 5 count to ramp up to your greatest, safest effort, and then a 5 count to hold that effort. Here we go. Ramping up for 5. Increasing tension in your body, 4. Increasing 3. Increasing 2, find your greatest, safest effort, 1, and hold, 5, also breathing, 4, 3, 2, 1, melt it away and walk those knees in for a little rest, good. So for this next one, we're gonna do the same thing, but I'm gonna give you a little idea of how to create directional isometric tension. So start tucking your tail under a little bit, get a little air trapped in your belly, walking your knees back so they're behind your hips somewhere. You get to choose where. From here, imagine I've super glued your fists to your elbows to the floor and your knees to the floor. Can you, as you're ramping up, pinch the floor together? So doing it a little bit for 5, increasing that effort for 4, increasing for 3, pinching the floor harder, 2, hardest pinch you can safely find, 1, and maintain, 5, 4, breathing, 3, 2, 1, slowly melt that away and you can walk your knees in. Yeah, so just that feeling of I have a direction to my muscular contraction, but nothing's moving, nothing's going anywhere. Cool? All right, from here, come into your supine position. We're gonna do some hip capsule CARs. Yeah, why not? We know what we're doing, it's fine. So in your supine position, the first thing we wanna do is find, again, a little bit of that tailbone curl towards the ceiling. This will result in you feeling like your low back is flat to the ground. From there, brace as though you're getting ready for a toddler to walk across your belly. And then you can bring one leg up into a tabletop position where the knee joint is right over the hip joint. If you feel like your lower leg is gonna run into your knee, you can just walk that foot away a little bit. And then we're gonna get as much twist as we can in one direction for that hip, and then as much twist as we can in the opposite direction. Good, keep it going, you're on the clock. Rotating back and forth, making this as muscular and active as you can. A good way to help yourself with that is to think, could I freeze frame at any minute? Like if we were playing red light, green light, could I freeze frame? That's a nice way to know that you're in control. The other thing to watch out for here is the hips trying to hike. So if you want to, you can bring your hands onto your pelvis, feel those bones staying still, feel your back staying flat. Good. Last 3, 2, 1. Set that foot down with control. Reinvest in your back being flat, feeling that nice brace where you've trapped some air and you've tensed the muscles. And then bring your new leg up, knee right over the hip joint, and rotate, wringing out as much rotation as you can in one direction and then the other. Just taking this time to notice what's different about your two sides. Generally, they'll always be a little unique. The other thing to watch out for here, where you could use your own tactile cue, the knee sometimes wants to travel in space. So if you put a hand on your thigh or fingertips on your kneecap, if you can reach, that'll give you a little extra awareness of keeping that thigh bone straight up and down, creating that nice juicy rotisserie of the thigh bone. 3, 2, 1, and set that down. And this is going to be our reassessment movement. I tried to say motion and movement at the same time. Didn't work out so well. It's going to be our reassessment movement. So just take a moment to go, okay, snapshot of those sensations is stored in my memory chip card, and then we can compare when we get back. Poof! Okay, from here, we're having mic issues today. It's really been fun. Come into quadruped for some cat-cow. Hands under the shoulders, knees under the hips. Woo! And deep breath in to ground and center yourself. I will try to do the same. Starting at your tail, tuck your tail under, and slowly, segment by segment, round up through your spine. Moving at the speed of your awareness until you get your chin tucked to your chest. And then just pause, take a breath, see if you can squeeze out any more roundness in your spine, and see if you can feel sensations of length or stretch along the back of your body and any sensations of contraction along the front of your body. You may or may not feel either of those, just check. From there, poke your tailbone up to the ceiling. Start to find a little arch in the very lowest part of your back, feeling your belt buckle reach towards the floor, then your belly button, then your lowest ribs, then the bottom of your sternum, center of your t-shirt logo. Start to feel those collarbones lift, throat lifts, and finally your chin comes up only as much as feels good for your neck. Okay, whatever level of tension you were at there, let's call that a 4 out of 10. Can you, for this next one, give me a 6 out of 10? So some ways to think about that: you can make your hands heavy, you can make your knees heavy, you can engage that pinch of the floor, just put some isometric tension in your body, just like we did with the plank, 6 out of 10, and then start your cat-cow, moving through that tension. Again, segment by segment as best you can. And now you sort of have two jobs. Am I still at a 6 out of 10 tension in my body and all my muscles, and am I moving segmentally? So this is kind of an intermediate Kinstretch moment. Just do your best if this is still new for you. Nice. Once you're round, keep that 6 out of 10 tension and start poking your tailbone up to the ceiling, working your way through into an arched back or extended spine, segment by segment. Lovely. Last one. See if you can crank up to an 8 out of 10 tension in your body. So you're almost a plank, a still plank, but you're going to still have enough wiggle room to move through that spinal, segmental cat-cow. Breathing. Breathing is your friend. It will be harder to breathe the higher levels of tension you're maintaining, but you can in fact do it, I promise. Take some practice. Nice. Taking your time, your rep might take longer or less time than Will's. Don't stress about that. Just stay with it. Am I at 8 out of 10 tension? Could I pinch the floor or push the floor apart, do anything to help me build that tension? And can I keep tracking through each segment of my spine, trying to encourage and invite a little motion at each independent segment? Woo! Okay, let that go. That probably felt like some work. You might feel warm. Yes. A little schwitzy, a little glow moment. Okay, so we're gonna get into our 90-90 position. And this is where I want to invite you, if you already know kind of what your propping scenarios are for 90-90, gather those to you. Have your pillow and your block nearby, and have your strap within arm's reach. So you can see Will's setting up his 90-90 with his front hip elevated. That can be great. You could also be on the ground. If you've got a little space under your knee, you can just fill it up with that pillow, see what feels comfortable for you. We're gonna focus on the front leg at first here, so if it feels better to slide your trailing leg forward to alleviate any weirdness on that trailing hip side, go for it. And then grab that strap or belt or what have you. We're gonna loop it under the ankle. So for this front hip, which is externally rotated, we wanna just start to find a little bit of isometric contraction, so that go nowhere contraction, but with directional force. So one hand or both, whatever feels good, you're gonna give a little upward tug on that strap. Not enough to actually lift the foot, but enough that you feel it. And then you can start to fight it by pushing your ankle down. See what that lights up on the underside of your leg and the underside of your hip. Stay low intensity for now, somewhere in the 30% or less category. Just trying to really go, okay, let's send some signal, find the stuff. That should be the name of this class, find the stuff. Nice. From here, keep that ankle heavy. Can you also make your knee heavy, either into the pillow or the floor or whatever it's touching, so that you have a sensation that you're trying to create rotational force into the ground. Nope, sorry, rotational force this way. Right, so the ankle's heavy, the knee is heavy, you're going this way. From here, keep that pressure, keep that sensation of those muscles, brace your midsection, and start to hinge your torso forward so that you might start to feel an increasing sensation of stretch or just general sensation through that tissue, only as far as it feels good and only as far as you don't run into any pain or pinch in the hip. Pause there, see if you can make that ankle even heavier, knee even heavier, keep all those muscles turned on, and then use that to lever your torso back up tall. Good, relax for a second at the top. Cool, so we're gonna do that a couple times. I'm gonna give you just a timed set. The key points for this exploration are, do I feel active pressure, weight of my ankle into the ground, and therefore corresponding active sensation in the hip? You might feel deep hip stuff or more shallow hip stuff, all are fair game. Can I keep that engagement, that sensation, as I hinge forward? You might feel, again, a deeper stretch, deeper sensation. And then can I use those muscles that I feel to lever me back up? So I'm not just propping my torso up tall, I'm actually pushing the leg down in order to send the torso away. So give that a go as we go through a little time set here. Deep breath in, pack some air down. Remember that toddler walking across the belly cue. We want the spine to stay relatively the same shape. Ankle presses down, knee presses down. Find that sensation. Again, 30%-ish is fine. And then when you feel that, go ahead and start your motion. Hinging forward until you feel like, whoa, okay, that's a powerful, intense sensation. That's where I want to stop. And then using that muscle tissue on the outside of the hip, deep in the hip, to lever your torso away from your spine. You're on the clock. Find your own pace. Your range of motion might be more than Will's, might be less than Will's. Stay in the range where you feel that outer hip tissue always on, at least at 30%. And then more if you can as you're pushing your torso back up tall. Breathe it in there somewhere. Good. Last 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and let it go. Woo! Again, this will probably feel like some work. This whole class is gonna feel more in the strength camp. All right, so we're gonna stay with this 90-90 setup, but we're gonna move our focus to the trailing leg. So I'm gonna have Will rotate a little bit his setup so that the trailing leg is pointing more towards y'all, so you can see what's going on here. With the trailing leg, we're working on our internal rotation. So again, you're gonna make your foot heavy. And if you want to, you can pinch that front foot in, make yourself comfortable. So back foot is heavy, knee is gently heavy, so it's not popping off basically. And then have this idea that you're trying to rotate your thigh bone back and down, which would result in your ankle getting heavier into the ground. And turn that up slowly to about, again, in that 30% or less range. Where will you feel this, you might be wondering? A variety of places. You could feel it kind of deep, I'm not gonna point to Will's butt, deep in the cheek, just where your bum meets your thigh, kind of deep to the bone there. Yeah, maybe Will can gesture. You might feel some like deep groin into inner thigh stuff. You might also, some folks just feel the sort of rails tissues for internal rotation at first. They should chill out eventually as you do more of this work. You might also feel a little medial knee action, which is okay as long as it's not sharp, it's just kind of muscular. So keep that 30% tension, and now we're gonna move the pelvis. So you're gonna rotate your belt buckle such that it starts to face towards your back foot, any amount, which might feel like your butt is coming down towards the ground. And then keep that pressure into the floor and rotate your belt buckle to face your front leg or your lead leg. And just explore back and forth like that. We're on the clock here. Again, your range of motion might be way more than what Will is showing. Your range of motion might be way less. The questions to ask are, am I able to feel consistent pressure of my ankle and consistent engagement of muscles in my leg and in my hip as I'm creating this motion? And then just being curious what other sensations present themselves as you move. Stay in the range that feels threat-free, totally safe. It can feel interesting. It might feel a little gnarly, but it needs to feel safe. Good. Last 3, 2, 1, and let that go. Nice. Yeah. Take your time maneuvering out of that situation. We're gonna get set up for our opposite 90-90, and we're gonna run through that whole sequence on the other side. Yeah, so get your strap handy, set up your 90-90 for the new side, and we're gonna move through a little quicker on this side now that we know what we're doing. All right, so sitting up tall, nice brace through the midsection. Create a little upward tug with your strap or your belt or what have you so that you have something to kick down against for that ankle. And knee is a little bit heavy as well. Lighting up sensation along the underside of the hip. Once you feel that at a nice 30% steadiness, start to hinge your torso forward. Potentially opening up a more intense stretch or contraction or just general increase of sensation in those hip tissues. When you've gone as far as feels safe for you, start pressing extra into the floor so you can turn that up and use it to lever yourself back up tall. Keep playing with this. We're on the clock. Pressing down into the floor. Ankle is heavy the whole time. We're keeping this pales tissue, really, lit up and active the whole time as it is being asked to stretch as you tilt forward. And then as it's being asked to shorten and contract to bring you back up. Last 5, 4, keep breathing, 3, 2, 1, slowly relax. Exciting. Okay, so then from here, we're gonna have, I can just adjust a little bit here. Well, perfect. We're gonna bring our attention to the trailing leg. So you can fold up or change this front leg as much as you want. You want to have this knee at about a 90-degree angle. And if you need to lean a little bit, so if you were on the floor here and you didn't have blocks underneath you, you might feel like you needed to lean out onto your kickstand hand. That's all good. From there, you're going to make your ankle heavy and your knee heavy. And then add to that a directional input that you're trying to rotate. So the contraction is down and also attempting to twist, but the floor is in the way. From there, you can start to rotate your belt buckle towards your back foot and then rotate your belt buckle to face your front knee. We're on the clock for this one as well. The game is, can I keep consistent pressure under my ankle? So if we had like a weight scale under your ankle, consistent extra 5 or so pounds, and then smoothly and with control, rotating the pelvis. Breathing is your friend. Keep that going. Noticing what you notice, staying in that threat-free zone for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and slowly let that go. Ah, lovely. All right, my friends, we're going to stay with this 90-90 setup, but we're going to bring our attention back to the leading leg. Bum, 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 bum. So setting up as is comfortable to feel the best kind of 90-degree angle at that front lead leg knee. Sitting up nice and tall, we're going to now start to explore both the pales and kind of the rails tissue. but not at end range. So with this one, the angle that you choose ultimately will be very unique to the individual, but it needs to be an angle where you can find a clear contraction of the tissue that we're talking about. So we'll start everybody just upright. From here, we want to find a brace through the midsection. And first we're going to find that pales tissue, which we've already worked with, so should be primed. So that's heavy ankle, heavy knee, trying to rotate through the floor, and that should light up stuff in the back of the hip, underside of the thigh. Good. Find that, ramp it up to a nice 50% effort for 10 seconds. 3, 2, 1, keep your body braced, and now try to find the opposite contraction. So we don't expect motion here necessarily, you might get some, but trying to rotate such that your ankle would become light, and trying to make your knee a little bit light so that you feel contraction on the inner thigh, groin, general area. Keep that working at as close to 50% as you can find for 5, 4, 3, 2, stay on tension in your body. 1, switch back to the pales. Press down. Find that 50% effort. Hold it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Switch to the rails, trying to make that ankle light, trying to make the knee light, but really thinking twist. Try to get the inseam of the leg to twist towards the outside of you. 3, 2, 1, slowly relax. Good. Now, if you're a person with a lot of flexibility, we'd want you to angle your torso slightly further forward. So now we're closer to that end range, and we'll rinse, repeat. The caveat being, if you bend so far forward that you can't find either of those contractions, you've gone into no man's land and you're not going to get benefit from this training anymore. So you want to find the edge of where you can be active, get a clear contraction, and then slowly we'll work our way out from there. So you can pick a different angle, slightly more forward. We'll just do one more set here together. Pressing down, ankle and knee heavy into the floor, finding underside of the hip or pales tissue. Hold close to that 50% threshold. Good. Holding for 3, 2, 1. Keep your body tense. Just switch the direction. Try to rotate. Hacky sack action. Scoop that ankle up off the ground, trying to get rotation. Nothing changes about your spine shape. Keep that brace strong for 3, 2, 1, and slowly relax. Good. You could keep going with this and work through different angles, okay? We're gonna move on so that we keep this class reasonably lengthed in time. Lengthed. Okay, so we're gonna do the same thing for the trailing leg. So for the trailing leg, the big toggle is where your belt buckle is facing. So we'll start with the sort of least end range position with the belt buckle facing straight ahead towards your lead leg knee. We're going to find our pales effort by rotating down to the ground, which will make your ankle feel heavy. Your knee feels heavy as well. Ramp that up to 50% and hold. Just 10 seconds. Keep going for 3, 2, keep your body on tension. 1, reverse that rotation. Now for some of you, this might produce some movement. That's okay. We want to feel contraction right under where Will's hand is. Maybe he can even gesture. Yeah, kind of a wrapping sensation from the back to the front of the hip. Hold that for 3, 2, 1, and then let it go. Nice. So if you felt a clear contraction in both places, yay, you might stay there and work. If you want to inch towards your end range, you would rotate your belt buckle a little bit more towards the back heel, and then we try again. Pressing down, heel and ankle and toe, that was hard to say, heavy into the floor, knee heavy, rotational force, ramp it up to 50% and hold. 3, 2, 1, keep your belly braced, nothing moves, just try to rotate that thigh bone in the opposite direction, which might make your ankle feel light. Find some contraction, again on that kind of front pocket, wrappy swath of the hip. 3, 2, 1, and relax it. Good. Okay, so again, you could keep filling in those gaps all the way back to your passive range. We're gonna switch sides for now. Yep, so we'll start with your leading leg. So you're gonna set up for your lead leg to be the focus. Trailing leg can tuck in if it wants to. We're gonna start relatively tall. Deep breath in, pack that air down. Find your pales first. So heel is heavy, knee is heavy, trying to rotate your leg through the floor. The floor is in the way, ramp up to 50% and hold. Good, breathing around all of that bracing. 3, 2, stay braced. 1, reverse the rotation. Try to make this ankle as light as you can. Try to spin your inseam towards the outside of your leg. Thanks, Will. Hold that for 3, 2, 1. Melt it away. Good. So again, here's your moment of choice. If you know you've got a lot of range and you want to fill that in, you could hinge forward a little bit. Just want to make sure you're still at a place where you can feel that contraction. Round 2. Deep breath in, pack that air down. Heavy ankle, find the pales. Slowly ramp up to 50%. Hold for 10 seconds. Good. Keep breathing and holding for 3, 2, 1. Reverse the rotation. Try to get that clear contraction in that swath of inner thigh, groin stuff. 3, 2, 1, and melt it away. Fabulous. Again, you could stay right here and do another set, or you can hinge forward a little bit further, depending on what's right for you. Last round. Heavy ankle, down into the floor. Finding that back of the hip, outside thigh stuff at 50%. Holding 10 seconds. Good. Keep your body braced. Nothing moves. Just try to switch and now find the muscles that would do the opposite rotational job, that would lever that ankle right off the ground. Hold there. Trying to find as best you can a 50% contraction. Might feel like a little less. 3, 2, 1, and slowly relax. Good. Okay, we're gonna move on to the trailing leg. If you need to wiggle a little bit, you can. Yep, Will's gonna rotate so you can see what's going on. Perfect. So again, our sort of least end range position is gonna be belt buckle facing forward. We're gonna find our pales contraction right there. So deep breath in, pack that air down, stabilize the spine, start making the foot heavy into the floor, thinking like you're trying to rotate that down into the ground. Notice what turns on, ramp it up to 50%. Hold. We're doing 50% today. It could be less as well. Want to pepper that in also. And then switch to the rails contraction, trying to make your ankle lighter. Maybe you will get some lift in this position. If you do, that's fine. Just make sure you're feeling for contraction in the rails tissue. 3, 2, 1. Let that melt away. And then if you want to, rotate the belt buckle a little more towards your back foot to start incrementally filling in those gaps. Deep breath in, pack that air down. Heavy ankle. Good, make sure the knee isn't popping off the ground. Find your 50% and hold. 3, 2, 1. Keep your body braced and smoothly switch the rotation. Now finding stuff on the top of the thigh that wants to bring that ankle right off the ground. Keep holding for 3, 2, 1, and let that go. Beautiful. And again, you could camp out here and do another set, especially if it was twitchy, like if it was kind of in and out. That's a great place to stay and just do another set. Don't go further into end range. It will be more twitchy. Yeah.
What are you thinking with cramps?
Cramps are a tricky one. If you're getting a really clear cramp, that's a good indication that's a place you need to work, and it might mean that you need to ramp up to less than 50%. Usually the cramps happen when we jump up versus volume dialing up. And then sometimes they happen on the dismount if we don't volume dial down. So cramping is a good indication that we need a little more neurological control or connection to that tissue. And so if you can really think about that volume dial, and it might be that you go from 0 to 10 for your ramping, and that's where you are for now. That's under the cramp, yeah? All right, last one. Find your position. Deep breath in, pack that air down, start making the foot heavy, finding your pales first, ramping up to maximum 50%, could be less, volume dial to where you need it, hold 10 seconds, 3, 2, 1. Take care to ramp up that rails contraction. Now you kind of know where it is, especially if you've had a cramp, you know exactly where it is. See if you can just volume dial it up and hold whatever is sustainable without disappearing into cramp city. 3, 2, 1, and slowly relax it down. Fabulous. All right, gang, we're gonna head back onto our backs and retest with our supine hip capsule CAR. All right, feels good to lie down probably after all that. All right, so make your back flat so you can get some feedback if your spine is trying to pretend to be a hip. That's really why we're doing it. Brace your belly so that you're ready for that toddler in your life to walk across your belly. Bring the kneecap right over the hip joint and rotate. It was right on the zeros on the clock. Good. Wringing out as much active rotation as you can. Thinking of the motion coming from all those funky places that we were just feeling. Can you map those sensations to this action? Good. Last 10 seconds. Just really tune in and notice. What does it feel like at the places where my rotation stops, where I'm trying to rotate more, but just nothing's happening? What's happening there? What do I feel? 3, 2, 1, and set that leg down. Great. Reset the core tension. When you feel good and braced, bring that new leg up and rotate. Woohoo! Sometimes you'll notice a big change. Sometimes it'll be much more subtle. The important thing is you taking that time to go, what do I feel? What new information is here for me in this familiar action than I felt when I first did this today? As those are going to be the clues, like the golden clues that'll help you figure out what your hips really need. Nice, team, almost there. 3, 2, 1, and set that foot down. All right, nice work. Thanks for hanging with that. We'll see you next time.